Bendiciones everyone, blessings, be Ali. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to be filming this video today. Today, for the first time ever, I'm going to be sharing and filming with you my first ever book collection of poetry and just amplifying some of my favorite authors that write poetry. I am so excited to be filming this because even before there was, for those of you who don't know, by the way, my name is Kimberly, also known as Poetagares on Instagram and here on YouTube. And for those who are a little familiar with my work, I am an illustrator and also a writer. But my first love language before there was even writing and before there was even art or illustrating, it was writing. I have loved writing for so many years, and my dream one day, and I'm putting it out there to the universe, is to write my own collection of poems. I low-key already started, just waiting for someone to publish me, basically. But anyways, I am going to be sharing some of my, I think I have like 9 books here that I'm going to be sharing with you all, and these are all poetry books from some of my favorite authors, and these are all POC authors, okay, people of color authors. And I think it's so important because me being a first generation Chicana, writing has really shaped my views, especially as an adult now. It has really shaped my views on my surroundings, on how I perceive myself, what my morals are, what I believe in. So literature has really been my go-to when healing myself, learning about myself, and learning about others, right? I think it's important to not just digest content that is about our story, but also digest and learn about other folks' stories as well. I think it's so important. So I have a good, well-rounded here collection of poems, and honestly I wasn't even going to make this about POC authors, but as I was pulling all of my books that have been very significant in my own journey, that have inspired me to continue writing and that have shaped even my writing style, I started noticing that all the books I was pulling was from POC folks. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to amplify what that is, and I'm going to be sharing what that is because it's so important to invest money into our communities, especially POC folks and especially Black, Indigenous people of color. I think it's so important to be investing money into those communities and supporting those writers, those authors, right? So I have about 9 books I'm going to be sharing with you all. Not really in any order, but these are just some of the poetry books I have. If I would have made about my whole entire poetry collection, it would have been like a long ass video. So I'm only going to be sharing like the 9 most significant, and obviously this collection is always evolving and changing. I continue adding or maybe retiring some for some reason or whatever, but these are the ones that feel pretty well-rounded for me. So yeah, so let's get started. So the first book that I have to share with you all, I found this book through just Instagram accounts of poetry that I follow about like, I don't know, like 5 years ago. Yeah, like 4 years ago, and it has been such a beautiful read, and it's something that I continuously just go back and just read through. And yeah, I love this book. This book is called Bone by Yrsa Daley Ward. Please excuse me if I'm saying her name wrong. But it is this beautiful book right here, and I can't even remember if these, I don't know if I accidentally poured water on this or what, but, or if that's how it came. I can't remember. I got this a while ago, but it is a beautiful book. And the back poem, I'm gonna read back poems if they have them. This one says, "You will come away bruised, you will come away bruised, but this will give you poetry." Yrsa's I'm just gonna call her by her last name because I'm not sure if I'm saying her first name wrong. But Daily Ward is such a beautiful writer. Her work is just so poetic, and basically this book is about being broken and mending, and the process of how that looks like. She does talk about it in a woman perspective and the rawness of what it is to be a broken woman and how it is that we get to healing and what that looks like. So it's very raw. It's very vulnerable, and vulnerable is just so beautiful to see in writing, because when you're vulnerable, you just don't hold anything back. So this is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. And this is a picture of the author right here. And it says, Yrsa Daly Ward is a writer and a poet of mixed West Indian and West African heritage. Born to a Jamaican mother and a Nigerian father, Yrsa was raised by her devout Seventh-day Adventist grandparents in the small town of Corley in north of England. She splits her time between London and LA. So this is a beautiful book. I highly, highly recommend this. Beautiful, beautiful. Now the second book I have here, I got this about like 2 years ago, I want to say, and it is called A Fire Like You by Upil Chisala. And I believe this is her third poetry collection of poems. Like, this is her third book of poems. She does have like 2 other ones. I forgot what they're called. I do want to get the 2 other ones, but I only got this one because at the bookstore I got it at, they only had this one available. But I do want to get her 2 other ones that she has, that way I could have her entire collection. But this book, A Fire Like You, it's basically a book about navigating through our losses and our wins. Chisala does a really great way of expressing what that looks like. And she does it in a very lyrical way of expressing what it feels and means to release all expectation. And just kind of navigating this voyage of losses and wins. So I really love this book. I think it's very empowering. I think it is very intimate as well. So it's definitely a staple in my poetry collection. Her poems are a little bit shorter than like Bone from Yrsa Daly Ward. They are a little bit shorter. I think Yrsa Daly Ward kind of, her poetry is a mixture of both short and long, and she kind of tells a story. Yrsa does. She kind of tells a story through her poems, opposed to this one. It obviously does tell a story, but they are a lot shorter poems like this, which I do not mind at all. I'm open to any kind of poems in however shape or form they are. What I look for in a poetry book is how it makes me feel. And this is the author, Upil Chisala. And it says, Upil Chisala is a storyteller from Malawi and a graduate of the University of Oxford. Known for her short and powerful poems, she is the author of the books Soft Magic and Nectar. A Fire Like You is a third collection of poetry and prose. She lives in Johannesburg, sorry if I'm butchering that, in South Africa. So yeah, highly recommend this book. Now, the next book I have here, I've had this for a while now, and it was probably one of the first books that I ever got when I first started getting more and more into reading poetry rather than just writing it, right? So this book, actually the next 2 books really opened me up to writing and really digging deep and connecting myself to my own culture, to my roots, and seeing what that feels like and seeing how words come up when I am diving into those spaces. So this book was kind of the starter for me in my writing style. So this book, I'm pretty sure a lot of folks already know about this book, but if you don't, this book is by Sandra Cisneros, who is a Chicana writer, and it's called Loose Woman. So this is the book. I love the cover. It's kind of like a collage of different things, of indigenous folks, of La Loteria, and religious sort of art. It's just beautiful. I really love the cover on this, and that's Sandra Cisneros. I'm not sure when this book was published. I'm pretty sure it was probably published in the 90s. I might be wrong, but this book really kind of set it off for me in terms of how I thought about writing and how I thought about expression. I was very linear with my writing style, and when I first started writing, and I didn't really intermix who I am and my language, and my language is very Spanglish, right? My language is very a combination of Spanish and English, and I wouldn't really mix that into my writing when I first started diving more into my writing. And this book really opened me up that in order to honor my full expressive self, in order to do that, I need to do it in a form that is very raw and very familiar to me, and that is speaking my tongue how it suits, right? And Spanglish to me is very natural, so I started writing more and more in this style, and it's something that Sandra Cisneros does in Loose Woman. But this book is basically about celebrating love in terms of the female perspective. It is very fiery and raw and very familiar to me, and how she expresses love, because in my culture, being Chicana, love is something that is so implemented into, or it has been for my family. So it's very much implemented that love and family is just the ultimate thing, and it's just it just reminds me of home. It's very personal to me, and I really love this. It's also very funny, and I really love that, because I don't own that many like funny poetry books. I think this is probably like one of the only ones that I own that are very funny, and funny in a sense that it just reminds me of my roots, and also how she expresses certain things, and how that's just so familiar to my language and to who I am. So I really love this book. I think it doesn't matter who you are, what race you are. This is just a beautiful book to read, that you can implement it into your own life, right? Because love is something that we all collectively share. So yeah, beautiful book, highly recommended. Loose Woman by Sandra Cisneros. Okay, so the fourth book is also by Sandra Cisneros, and I think this might have been her first collection of poems that she put out. I think this came out in like 1987, and it's called My Wicked Ways, also by Sandra Cisneros. I have 3 of her books actually. I have this one, the Loose Woman one, and then I have the other one called Woman Hollering Creek, which is more like short stories and narratives. So yeah, but this one and Loose Woman are more is poetry. But I really love this book. I mean, obviously if I loved Loose Woman, I knew that this is without a doubt something that I was going to like. But this one, My Wicked Ways, it's basically about exploring the human condition and how we interact, and how us humans just are, and why we are. So she obviously and I love why it's called My Wicked Ways, because it just correlates to just the human ways, right? Why we do what we do. But she says it in a very lyrical way, also very Spanglish as well. But it's not super Spanglish to where folks who don't know Spanish won't be able to read it. I think that if you only speak if you speak English, this is very much thorough, and you can definitely navigate and read this very well. But yeah, I really love this book. It's such a beautiful read. Definitely relatable once again. So yeah, My Wicked Ways by Sandra Cisneros. Highly recommend this book. Alright, so this next book is called Corazón by Jessica Salgado. I first came across Jessica as, if you don't know who she is, She is a Salvadorian poet. She used to do a lot of like live spoken word, and that's kind of just how I came across her. It was through Instagram, and as well I think in YouTube I came across her. But yeah, she used to do a lot of spoken word, and just the way that she would express herself was just beautiful. I actually met her once as well. It was at an event in LA where I was invited to speak, or I was invited to share a poem, and this was about like 3 years ago, I want to say. But yeah, I was invited to share a poem at this like high school, and it was like my first time I ever did like spoken word like in public. And you know, for an introvert, I like almost shit my pants. It was just like, it was beautiful, but it was so nerve-wracking. But it was such a beautiful experience, and I met her that day because she was also sharing. I met a lot of wonderful people, and it was just amazing. But yeah, this is Corazón by Jessica Salgado. She, I believe, has 2 other books as well, which I also want to get just to add to my poetry collection. But yeah, this is such a beautiful book. This book is about love, and she talks about how she, or just in general, she talks about how feeding love with a partner is sometimes not enough, and it's beautiful how she navigates that concept. And I'll just read a little bit of the back. It says, Salgado creates a world in which the heart can live anywhere. Her fat brown body, her parents' home country, a lover, a toothbrush, a mango, or a song. It is a celebration of heartache, of how it can ruin us, but most importantly, how we always survive it and return to ourselves whole. So I love this book. For folks that don't know, corazón means heart. And I love how the corazón here, there's a corazón here, and there's also a mango here. A mango is very traditional to many Latinx households, and I just think this is beautiful, beautiful. It's a beautiful read. There is a combination of long and short poems in here. A little bit of Spanglish going on, which I also love. But yeah, I love this book, so I'm sure I'm gonna love her other 2 books, which I also want to get. So check her out, Jessica Salgado. Okay, so the next book I have is probably one of my most recent favorite ones. I just recently got this book not that long ago, probably like the beginning of this month, and I had been eyeing this book for a while, but I just hadn't gotten it. Not only is the cover gorgeous, but the poems in here are just so lyrically very beautifully put. Just how the author expresses herself is just so amazing, and this one really spoke to me in how the author just worded certain scenarios that she was trying to say. So it's definitely going to be one of my top favorite poetry books, and I highly recommend this one to everyone. This one is called If They Come For Us by Fatima Ashgar. Like, look at that cover. This cover is just gorgeous. I love this cover. It's just amazing. It's a pretty quick read too. Most of the books that I have are pretty quick reads. They're probably like this length or a little bit more, but it's just a quick read. It's amazing. So this poetry book is basically about the divisions of nationality, age, gender. The author covers so much identity in this book. It is an expression of loss, brown girlhood, the complicated bonds of family, what home is if home is torn apart. I really love this book because Fatima does such a great way, like I mentioned, with how she composes her poems. It is not a straightforward type of book where the author tells you exactly what is happening in that specific poem or in that scene. It is very poetic, so she uses a lot of symbolism, and I love it. I love books and poems that are just not very straightforward. I love poems that really challenge my mind in trying to figure out and kind of envision what is happening right in that moment. So I love poems and books that do that, that really challenge my psyche and make me feel really intrigued and in that moment of what is happening. I definitely had to read a couple of the poems like 1 or 2 times to fully grasp what was happening, but it's such a beautiful read. I highly recommend this book. This is definitely something I'm going to continue revisiting, and it was such a quick read. I finished this in like 2 days. I could have finished this in 1 day, but I just paused. But it's beautiful, beautiful book. And this is the author right here. That's Fatima Ashgar. And I'll just kind of read her bio. Fatima Ashgar is a nationally touring poet, performer, educator, and writer. She is a writer of Brown Girls, an Emmy-nominated web series that highlights friendships between women of color. She is a member of Dark Noise and a 2017 Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellow. So I love this author, and I'm for sure going to get any of her other books that she has out. So highly, highly recommend this book. All right, so I believe this is the okay, so we're at number 7th now, and I do have 2 more after this. But this book, I got it probably like 4 years ago, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's called Child of the Moon by Jessica Seman, and I really love the cover as well. I love the little gold font happening in the title. And this book by Jessica Seman is basically is a collection of poems that expresses the healing journey through honest and imperfect ways. So it's about finding light in the darkness. It's about healing even though there has been very traumatic events that have happened in her life. And from what I remember, I'm pretty sure this is based on her experiences, so it's not like she's making any of this up. This is actually based in the Lebanese civil wars that happened. So her journey in these poems is basically healing through those wars that she had to experience, and finding light in all of that experience, which must have been very obviously traumatic. And I'll just read a little bit of the back. In her debut collection, Seman offers an upfront and moving glimpse into the true nature of healing, an imperfect, non-linear journey. And I love this poem that she has in the back. It says, "In between being your mother and father, I forgot to be your daughter and became the child of the moon." She does also mention her relationship with her parents and how that looks like, and the trauma that holds, how she had to overcome that. Once again, healing and moving herself through darkness to light, right? It also says in the back, Child of the Moon is a powerful reflection on her journey through fear, shame, and despair, and the unconditional love that helped her begin to heal from childhood trauma. So I really love this book. A lot of relatable things were said in this book that I can definitely relate to in my own personal journey, in my own personal traumatic events with family. So highly, highly recommend this book. Such a beautiful read. It is a little bit thicker, and I also love this book because it is also illustrated, so it has a lot of it has some illustrations in here. This is one of my favorite illustrations. It has such beautiful illustrations. I really enjoy books that do have illustrations inside. I think that's just a beautiful way to even further I guess express the stories in the poems. So yeah, that's Child of the Moon by Jessica Seman. All right, and the next two books that I'm going to recommend, I haven't read them fully yet. I've partially read them just a little bit, but I've heard good things about them. And these are two that I just recently picked up as well. So the first one is called The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. And this one has actually won a lot of awards, and that kind of just even gravitated me more towards getting it. It won National Book Award and the Pura Belpre Award and another one that I can't really read. But from what I've read, I'm just going to read the back actually. This book is, it's an award-winning novel in verse about an unstoppable young Afro-Latina poet who tells her own story with blazing words and powerful truth. So from what I've read, this is actually a story told through poetry. So it's told through all the poems in here. And it's about a young woman called Xiomara. Yeah, she's called Xiomara Batista. And it's based in New York in Harlem and how she was raised there. I'm not sure if it's actually related to the actual author, if that's her story, but it's basically about a young woman whose name is Xiomara Batista and how she navigates New York feeling unheard and unrepresented, and how she uses the power of words and writing to kind of break out of that shell, break out of that bubble. And this is definitely a book that I would probably give my future kids to read. I think it's very readable for young teens, and I think it would be a really, really beautiful way for them to engage in writings that is about an Afro-Latina, right? So yeah, I highly recommend this book. I'm excited to further dive into it. It is pretty, this is actually one of the most lengthiest poetry books that I have, but either way, I'm so excited to just dive into it and just read it and see all the beautiful poems in here. So yeah, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a picture of the author. All right, so this next book I recently got and haven't really read it much. I've only read like a few poems in here, definitely less than 10 poems. But I've been seeing this book around Instagram for a while now. And yeah, and it's called Inward by Young Pueblo. I'm pretty sure folks know about Young Pueblo. His account is pretty huge and very much well known. His actual name is Diego Perez, I believe, and he's a very beautiful writer. Some of his poems are a little bit more short than other books that I've read. He does have a couple of long ones in here, but for the most part they're pretty short, which, like I mentioned before, I don't have any preference as long as the poem does what I feel like poetry should do to one. But yeah, I've read a couple of things and it's pretty good. I don't have much to say about this because I haven't really fully read this book, but I've heard good things about it. This book is mostly about the title, obviously, inward. So going inward to fully heal ourselves and to know that by the power of knowing oneself and knowing ourselves, we can definitely transform into it. This book is a book that pretty much explores like movement, so going from self-love to unconditional love, to really exploring the power of letting go and being open to transformation and healing. From the poems I've read, they are very much centered in healing and how we have the power within ourselves to heal what it is that we need to heal. So I'm excited to further read into it and see how I feel about it more, but so far it's good. So yeah, this is Inward by Young Pueblo. Excited to further get into this one as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Those are my 9 favorite authors and poetry books that I have that are significant in my writing journey and that have inspired me in one way or another. And I hope they inspire you in some way or another. I'll go ahead and link the books down below. No one's paying me to link them or anything like that, but I just really believe in the power of these books and what they can do for folks that love poetry or that just want to read more poetry, and just to learn about other cultures and other races and just heal as a collective, right? And yeah, I think poetry is so powerful. It has definitely helped shape my views, and it has definitely helped shed light on my own healing journey, and I highly recommend all of these books. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked this video and subscribe. That'll let me know to continue making these kind of videos. I'm a huge reader, so I love reading. And last year I definitely lagged on reading more, and I'm making it a goal for this year to at least read like 3 books a month. But yeah, I'll be more than happy to share more like book reviews or just to share what I'm reading. My favorite type of books to read are obviously poetry. I love reading Chicanx literature. I love reading about esotericism or astrology, tarot, spirituality, mindfulness. Those are like my top books that I just love reading. So that's kind of just what has helped shape who I am and my views, and definitely have helped me navigate in my own healing journey. So I'll be more than happy to do more videos like that. Just give me a thumbs up, that way I can know if that's something that you would further like from me. Also, please share with me your favorite poetry books. It doesn't matter if they are POC or not POC, or share with me your favorite POC poet authors. That would be great. Just comment them down below. That way we can all just learn from each other and grow together as a collective. I'm always looking for books, so I mean, I might get some. So yeah, share with me. I would love to hear some of your favorite authors. And like I said, these could be POC or not POC. I love literature. I love writing. And writing connects us. Doesn't matter race, gender, age. I think just writing is so powerful. So yeah, share with me your own favorite books, authors, whatever have you. So yeah, that is all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!